Well, let's talk about India now. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing the nation tonight at 8. Crucial decisions like the extension of the lockdown and other important measures that are required in this phase of the pandemic are likely to feature in the Prime Minister's address. Prime Minister Modi has expressed the desire to achieve two objectives. One, reduce the transmission rate of the virus, and two, increase economic and financial activity gradually to stabilize the economy. Earlier, he also held a marathon meeting with all state chief ministers and discussed ways to ease the lockdown measures across the country. Ever since the pandemic broke out in the country, Prime Minister Modi has interacted with state chief ministers. This was the fifth such virtual interaction which he had with chief ministers to discuss the ongoing pandemic and the lockdown which followed it in order to contain the virus. In his interaction with chief ministers, Prime Minister Modi hinted the possibility of extending the lockdown beyond May 17, while suggesting that measures needed in the third phase would not be needed in the fourth. He asked the policymakers to plan for a new world reality. Prime Minister Modi also re-emphasized that social distancing cannot be compromised even when the lockdown is eased. He pointed out that the biggest challenge was to keep the rural areas of the country virus-free. He also hinted at focusing on domestic tourism, which implies that foreign travel is unlikely to resume anytime soon. Meanwhile, states have raised concerns about the crisis for thousands of migrants stranded because of the lockdown. Even after special trains started running from states to take migrant students and others home, the desperation has not ended. Prime Minister Modi has asked the states to send their views in writing on the opening up of schools, colleges, tourism, reclassification of zones. He also indicated it will take some time to get a new vaccine. WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibbal is now joining us live from New Delhi for the latest on this. And Siddhant, well, much anticipation about the Prime Minister's speech tonight, but in all likelihood the lockdown will be extended among the other messages that we're expecting from the Prime Minister.
Well, yes, at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, the Indian Prime Minister will be speaking. This is for the fifth time that he will be speaking since 19th of March. That was the day when he first announced about the Janta curfew. Later on, he spoke 3 times. He spoke on announcement of lockdown 1, then, of course, lighting up of diyas, then lockdown 2, and this time around the focus also on the economic aspect, because now we know that there is considerable impact on the economy, especially on the migrant workers who have been walking miles and miles, and this is one big expectation from the public here on the ground in India. But by and large, we know that the government is trying to now balance carefully between making sure that there is no major impact, in a sense that number of people dying from the COVID versus the economic impact. We also know that he had met the chief ministers of all the Indian states and given them time till 15th to give their feedbacks on the impact. What would they like to do that? But clearly it looks now that both the central government and the state governments have to work in tandem to make sure that whatever be the next stage of the entire lockdown or restriction they are going to come out with, it needs to balance the needs of the economy. But by and large, it is given that there will be certain level of restrictions on the ground, given the fact that numbers are increasing. In fact, today in India has passed number of cases above 70,000, and the numbers are increasing rapidly. Yesterday, the highest toll for 24 hours came, and also we know that the Indian government is now focusing on bringing back its nationals from abroad. That is another big national coordination effort launched by the Indian government. In fact, today only the Indian government announced officially that the second stage of this national repatriation plan will be taken from 16th, and in that number of flights are going to come from 31 countries. So that is another challenge that was discussed in the meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the states, and it is expected to be part of the national discourse as well.
Right, absolutely. Siddhant, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the very latest there on what we can expect from the Prime Minister's speech. Well,